Hey everybody, it's NetworkBret. I'm in a cowboy shirt. It's one of the only ones I had clean today. But I'm just going to talk about my experience working as a network operations technician. So I was at my last job for about 15 months, and we monitored radio systems. So I was at a desk pretty much all day, and I worked 410s, super chill. So mostly the job was just very chill. Once you learned the job, it was almost like just hanging out at your house. You have some coworkers you like, you talk to them quite a bit. You do some work in between, you get some calls. I was getting, I don't know, anywhere between 20 to 35 calls a day while also monitoring programs. So basically, you get there to work in the morning, you open all your programs, and you basically are responsible for watching them all day. And you can watch them as close as you want. Uh, if you don't watch them that close, you're kind of risking missing something. You definitely miss some things every now and then. Our our stuff, not only did we monitor the radio towers, but we monitored the structures around the radio towers a lot of times. So if doors open, there was door alarms because that's a highly secure position. And if the air conditioning went off, we had sensors for that as well. If they just got too hot inside, or if it was completely off, a bunch of different alarms. Uh, my job as a knock technician was if something goes wrong, I basically send people out to fix it more so. Sometimes I could fix it by adjusting some of the settings, other times I could not. And most of the time, I just had to figure out what is the problem and who are we going to send to fix it. We have many different vendors. Obviously, the guy that's working on the radio tower transmitting things is going to be a separate guy than the guy working on the air conditioning unit, or a separate person from the one working on the generator. So, you learn all the vendors, you learn all the things you need to look out for, and you kind of just relax and do your job. And you got to show up, you got to pay attention. But as a knock technician, from my experience, it's pretty simple. Um, I didn't, we didn't have to configure a lot. Most of the stuff was already configured. Every now and then, one of our tunnels would go down, or something would happen with a switch, but it was kind of rare. The stuff was mostly pretty stable. You get little blips here and there, but it's mostly for whatever reason. I usually remember to turn off my AC unit. I have a window AC unit. So yeah, you show up, you do your job. That's about it. It's not that complicated. You don't have to configure a lot. It's honestly really chill. But at the same time, it's not exactly what I was looking for. So while I appreciated this was like my foot in the door for tech, I just felt like I wasn't touching enough technical things. And a lot of the stuff I would read about or study for my CCNA, my Security Plus, my Network Plus, I have a Juniper certification. All these things that I'm learning about, I wasn't really getting hands on with. So I felt like I was forgetting a lot of what I was learning by not putting it to good use, while also just not learning new things, right? So there comes a time in any tech job, I feel, where you probably have figured it out. You figured out your role, and depending on the organization, they might not always give you extra stuff to do. And in my experience as a billion-dollar company, I think the bigger the company is, a lot of the times, the more they will pigeonhole a position where you're kind of stuck in doing only this one thing. So while it was a very great job, very chill, very consistent, I had a lot of friends there. I just felt like, okay, what is my life going to look like in the future if I stay somewhere where I'm not really learning, I'm not really skilling up, you know. The part of it, I think the contract was they had to have a certain amount of people watching, like physically watching the stuff, and that's like sold as their service. But a lot of the stuff I even was thinking, man, with AI agents nowadays, a lot of this could get replaced. So I'm looking at you know, I'm close to 30. 5 years from now, what is it going to look like? Am I going to be in the same position, making good money, very comfortable, very chill, making the same money, or, maybe I get a couple, maybe in 5 years I went up 5%, 10%, it's not really going to change my life. Where I felt like if I jump ship and then finally go somewhere where now that I have a little bit of a resume from the knock technician position, I should be able to get a job where I'm touching more stuff. And I did. I became a network administrator, just mainly because I felt like I had to learn what I needed to learn at this position, and the type of networking I'm interested in, we just weren't really doing. Now, at my new job, I'm doing a lot more, a ton more networking, but a lot more like user experience type fixes as well. Sometimes it's as simple as check the cable from here to here. You got to terminate a new Cat 6 or whatever. You got to check the phone lines. A lot of more manual stuff, but also way more technical stuff. At my last job, I wasn't really in charge of users per se, where now I work at a managed service provider, MSP. I'm a network administrator, and I'm just constantly learning something new. And that's just something I was not getting at the last job I was at. Great job, great people. Honestly, it was the best job I ever had. The new job I have, I don't know that I quite like it as much, but I'm definitely learning more, and that was the sacrifice that I felt like I had to make. Now I also am making slightly less. I'm making the same hourly, just working a little less hours because it's more contract work. It's just crazy. I'll make another video talking more about it. But yeah, if you're a knock tech, definitely, like, if there's nowhere else that'll hire you that you can get more technical at, definitely try to grow in the company you're at. See if you can offer, hey, I want to automate this, I want to automate that. See what you can do there. See how much you can grow within the company. That's great. I think really, if you want to be a knock tech your whole life, I think it's a great job. If you can pay all your bills with that, that's great. Um, my goals are not exactly that. I want to see how far I can go in network engineering, and that is very specific for me. Um, but if you just want a cool, chill tech job, I think a knock tech is a great position, and I wouldn't knock anybody in the knock, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. You know, it's just sometimes in a tech role you're going to be only customer service, and they might pigeonhole you there. And sometimes it's not really the company's fault. You know, you don't need as many network engineers as you might need customer service. Maybe you have a huge customer base, but there's not that much going on the back end. But I do think in a lot of positions, people want more responsibility. They want to learn new skills, and sometimes your company just can't give you that. And if they can't give you that, then start applying. And that's what I did. Just kind of updating people on my journey in tech. That is why I left my knock technician job, and now I'm a network administrator. I'll make a video on what that is like. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about working in the knock. That's mostly boring. It's really mostly boring. I mean, there's a lot of time to read books and stuff. At least in my knock, it was pretty chill. So people, they didn't mind if you're on your phone as long as you're not like abusing it. They don't want you watching movies in there. But if you like, check Instagram every now and then, check Twitter, they're not going to get on to you as long as you're doing your job. Yeah. Which most places should be. If you're doing your job, I don't care what you do on the clock. But that's a hard culture to find at the same time. Anyways, just me ranting. Like, comment, subscribe.